During my 72nd birthday dinner, my son handed me a bowl of cat food in front of 18 guests and said, "This is what freeloaders eat, old man." That night, I packed my bags and disappeared. But what I did the next day made him and his girlfriend cry and begged for forgiveness. This is my story of justice served cold. If you believe family should treat each other with respect, hit the subscribe button now. It helps me tell more stories like this. The sound of laughter drifted up through the floor vents. I opened my eyes to the dim light of my bedroom, disoriented. The digital clock on my nightstand glowed 7:15 p.m., Saturday evening, my birthday. I'd fallen asleep at my desk after lunch, exhausted from preparing food all morning, assuming someone would call me when dinner started. But dinner had clearly started without me. I swung my legs off the bed and stood, straightening my cardigan, running a hand through my gray hair. The voices grew louder as I approached my bedroom door. Multiple voices, not just my son Ethan and his girlfriend Lauren. Guests. They'd invited guests to my own birthday dinner without telling me. How many birthdays had I quietly let pass just to keep the peace? This was supposed to be the moment they showed some care, some simple decency. Instead, it was a silent, humiliating exclusion. I descended the stairs slowly, each step accompanied by the crescendo of celebration below. Through the archway, I could see into the dining room. The table was packed. 18 people, maybe more. Plates loaded with the prime rib. I'd spent 3 hours preparing. The mashed potatoes, the Greek salad, wine glasses caught the light from the chandelier I'd installed 30 years ago when Margaret was still alive. That chandelier. I remembered the day we hung it, Margaret laughing, balancing on a rickety ladder. That was our life, built on sweat and shared moments. Now these strangers, and my own son, were celebrating beneath it, oblivious to the memories anchoring every fixture. Nobody noticed me at first. I stepped into the doorway. A woman in a red blouse, Linda Wong from down the street, looked up mid-sentence and stopped talking. Then another guest noticed. Then another. The conversation died like someone had hit a mute button. "Ethan," I said, keeping my voice steady. It took all my will not to break, not to show the deep, aching disappointment. For Margaret's sake, I had to be strong. My son sat at the head of the table, my seat. Lauren beside him in Margaret's chair. He glanced at her, then back at me. His expression held something I'd been trying not to see for months. Contempt. Lauren giggled, covering her mouth with her hand. The one with the diamond bracelet I'd helped Ethan buy for her last Christmas. Ethan pushed back his chair. The legs scraped against the hardwood floor. Margaret and I had refinished together in 1994. "Oh, sorry, Pops," he said, drawing out each word. "We totally forgot you were even here. You're so quiet these days, you know, like a little mouse hiding upstairs." Several guests shifted uncomfortably. I recognized most of them. Ethan's friends from his so-called tech startup, Lauren's yoga instructor crowd, people who'd been eating my food and drinking my wine for the past 5 years. Ethan walked past me toward the kitchen. I could hear him opening cabinets, rummaging. When he returned, he was carrying a metal cat bowl, the one we'd used for our Labrador, Buddy, before he passed away 2 years ago. He set it down on the dining room table with a loud clank right in front of an empty chair at the far end. Then he went back to the kitchen and returned with a can. Pedigree beef chunks and gravy. The room went completely silent. Ethan popped the can open with the electric opener. The mechanical sound was somehow deafening. He dumped the contents into Buddy's old bowl. He wasn't finished. What came next was the single most humiliating sentence of my 72 years. Brown chunks of meat substitute splashed into the metal. Some of the gravy splattering onto the white tablecloth Margaret had embroidered. He picked up the bowl and extended it toward me like a waiter presenting a dish at a 5-star restaurant. "Here you go, Pops. Your birthday dinner. Since you've been freeloading off us for 5 years, eating our food, living in our house, I figured you'd be used to eating like a dog by now. Our house, he'd said. Our house. The house I'd bought in 1982. The house I'd paid off in 2003. The house where I'd raised him alone after Margaret died of breast cancer when he was 12. The house that had my name on the title, not his. Lauren laughed loud and sharp. Oh my God, babe, that's perfect. That's literally perfect. She pulled out her phone and started recording. Get this, everyone, she announced to the table. This is Ethan's dad. He's been living here rent-free, eating our food, using our electricity, and he's never once offered to pay for anything. Tonight we're teaching him a lesson about gratitude. Several guests looked down at their plates. Linda Wong started to stand up, but her husband pulled her back down. A younger man at the far end, someone I didn't recognize, was grinning and filming on his phone too. I took the bowl from Ethan's hands, not snatching, not throwing it back. I took it carefully, the way you'd accept any offering. The metal was cold against my palms. I could smell the artificial meat smell, see the chunks of brown gelatin wobbling. I held it for 3 seconds. Then I set it down on the floor near the entrance to the dining room, right next to the antique side table Margaret's mother had given us as a wedding present. I looked at my son. He was smiling, waiting for me to yell, to defend myself, to apologize for existing, waiting for the same response I'd given for 5 years. The patience, the understanding, the endless tolerance of disrespect disguised as jokes. I looked at Lauren, still recording, her face lit with excitement. Something inside me didn't break. It crystallized. It became clear and hard and cold as a February morning in Edmonton. This was the moment. The line had been crossed, the contract of respect broken beyond repair. My life had to change now. This wasn't about vengeance. It was about reclaiming the self I'd lost trying to buy love. I turned and walked toward the stairs. My back stayed straight, my footsteps measured. I didn't look back, didn't speak, didn't give them the satisfaction of a reaction. Behind me, Ethan's voice boomed across the dining room. All right, everyone, let's get back to this amazing meal that I paid for. Who wants more prime rib? He didn't pay for anything. I knew because I paid for everything. I was a financial advisor for 42 years. I document everything. I climbed the stairs one at a time. Each step felt like crossing a border. The man who'd lived in this house for 45 years. The man who'd raised Ethan alone after Margaret's death. The man who'd paid for everything and asked for nothing. That version of me, the gentle, enabling fool, stayed at the bottom of those stairs. Whoever reached the top was someone new, someone cold, calculating, and finally, self-respecting. I entered my bedroom and closed the door. For the first time in 5 years, I used the simple lock I'd installed last spring when they were out. Click. The sound was small, but absolute. Whoever reached the top was someone new. I entered my bedroom and closed the door. For the first time in 5 years, I used the simple lock I'd installed last spring when they were out. Click. The sound was small but absolute. Below, the party continued. Laughter, music, the clink of glasses. They weren't worried. They'd humiliated me in front of 18 witnesses, and they were celebrating. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. The screen's glow illuminated my hands. Steady, calm, ready. 5 years, $16,500, a bowl of cat food on my 72nd birthday. The numbers were about to come due. 5 hours had passed since I'd left that cat bowl on the dining room floor. I didn't need vengeance. I needed a ledger. And they were about to see the bill. The house had gone quiet around midnight. Guests leaving, car doors closing, footsteps on the stairs as Ethan and Lauren retired to their bedroom. Now it was nearly 5:00 in the morning, and I sat at my desk with my laptop open and 5 years of financial records spread before me like evidence at a trial. Now it was nearly 5:00 in the morning, and I sat at my desk with my laptop open and 5 years of financial records spread before me like evidence at a trial. I wasn't crying, Wasn't raging. I was calculating. The filing cabinet beside my desk held everything. Every bank statement, every credit card bill, every grocery receipt, every utility bill, every property tax payment. I'd kept it all in my meticulous financial advisor's way. I realized then that my attention to detail, the trait they mocked as being a quiet little mouse, was about to become their undoing. My documentation was my shield and my weapon. I finished the calculation at 6:47 a.m. Total support provided over 60 months, $13,247. Additional unauthorized personal charges to total $148,200. I saved the file as Ethan Support 2020-2024, XLSX, and closed the laptop. Outside my window, Edmonton was starting to wake up. Early morning joggers, someone scraping frost off their windshield. Inside, I planned. At exactly 7:00 a.m., I called my bank. RBC Royal Bank opened their phone lines early on Sundays for business customers. I'd been a business customer since 1983. Good morning, RBC Royal Bank. This is Kevin speaking. How may I help you? This is Edward Harrison. I need to remove authorized users from my credit card account. Of course, Mr. Harrison. May I have your account number? I recited it from memory, answered security questions, confirmed my identity 3 times. The representative's voice was a calm, disembodied hand holding the scissors. I see here that Ethan Harrison has been an authorized user since 2006, and Lauren Wong was added in 2021. You'd like to remove both? Yes, immediately, please. I can process that right now. The change will be effective within the hour. May I ask if there's a specific reason? It's a family matter. I need it done today. Understood, sir. I'm processing it now. One cord cut. At 7:24, I made the second call. Scotiabank, different card, same script. Ethan and Lauren removed from my MasterCard. At 7:41, I made the third call. Both Ethan and Lauren had debit cards linked to my checking account, something I'd set up 2 years ago when Ethan claimed they needed access for household emergencies. I removed both cards, changed my PIN, updated my online banking password to something they'd never guess. Cat Food 2024 just to confirm. The representative said, "You're removing both authorized users and changing all access codes." Correct. And I'd like fraud alerts set up, text and email for any attempted access. I'll set that up right now, Mr. Harrison. The representative said, "You're removing both authorized users and changing all access codes." Correct. And I'd like fraud alerts set up, text and email for any attempted access. I'll set that up right now, Mr. Harrison. By 8 a.m., I'd severed every financial connection. The chain was cut. I felt the physical weight of 5 years of enabling lift from my shoulders. They still lived in my house, but they could no longer spend my money. I stood and walked to my closet. From the top shelf, I pulled down a navy blue suitcase I hadn't used since Margaret and I went to Montreal for our 40th anniversary. I packed methodically. 1 week of clothes, toiletries, my laptop and charger, a folder containing my property deed, will insurance papers, and the spreadsheet I'd just created. I moved quietly. My bedroom sat above the garage, farthest from the master bedroom where they slept off last night's wine and my prime rib. At 8:30, I descended the stairs for the second time in 12 hours. The dining room had been cleaned. They'd at least managed that much. The kitchen still held dirty dishes stacked in the sink, but the table was clear. Buddy's bowl was gone, probably thrown away. Like the memory of our dog meant nothing. I found a piece of paper and wrote in my neat financial advisor's handwriting. Gone to visit old friends from the firm back in a few days. I didn't specify which friends. I didn't have many close friends left in Edmonton. Most had retired and moved away or passed on like Margaret, but Ethan didn't know that. Let him wonder. I placed the note on the counter, weighted down with a coffee mug, and picked up my suitcase. The house was silent as I walked to the front door. No creaking floorboards above, no voices, no sign they'd notice my departure, until they tried to buy their morning second cup on my credit card. I stepped outside into the cold November morning. Frost covered the lawn. The sun was just beginning to rise over the eastern horizon, painting the sky orange and pink. It was a new dawn, not just for the sky, but for my life. I was leaving the old man behind with the memory of the cat food. My Toyota Camry sat in the driveway where I'd parked it yesterday morning, back when I was still a man who tolerated being called a freeloader in his own home. I loaded the suitcase into the trunk, climbed behind the wheel, and backed out slowly. Nobody watched from the windows. I drove south on Highway 2 away from Edmonton toward the chain motel near the airport. Have you ever had to walk away from a toxic situation just to save yourself? Let me know in the comments below. I read every one. 15 kilometers out, I spotted what I needed. The gateway in a 2-story budget truck rental motel with a flickering vacancy sign and parking lot half full. The clerk was a young woman reading something on her phone behind plexiglass. She looked up as I approached. How many nights? 7. I'll pay cash. She slid a registration form through the slot. I need a credit card for incidentals. No card, I said, placing $600 bills on the counter. Cash only. Here's an extra 100 for the deposit. She studied me for a moment, then shrugged and took the money. Room 203, second floor, end of the hall. Checkouts at 11. Wow. The room was exactly what I expected. Beige walls, floral bedspread, television bolted to the dresser, painting of Lake Louise that had probably been there since 1995. I set my suitcase on the luggage rack and sat on the bed. My phone remained silent in my pocket. By now, 9:45 in the morning, they might have woken up. They might have found the note. They might have tried to use their credit cards for brunch and discovered they no longer worked. I opened my laptop and connected to the motel's Wi-Fi. Then I began searching for attorneys in Edmonton, specializing in property law and family disputes. I found one. Jennifer Coleman, 48 years old, according to her bio, specializing in elder financial abuse and property rights. Her website showed she worked Saturdays by appointment. I sent an email. Need consultation regarding removing family members from my property. Available today if possible. Willing to pay premium for weekend service. Response came within 20 minutes. Available at 2 p.m. today. My office. Fee structure attached. Outside my window, planes took off from Yeg. Inside this anonymous room, I began the process of taking back what was mine. Not angry, not hurt, just done. My phone started buzzing. Around 11 a.m., I was at the motel reviewing property law statutes on the Law Society of Alberta website. The screen showed Ethan's number. I let it ring through to voicemail, then Lauren's cell, then the house landline I'd kept because Margaret had liked having it. Then Ethan again. I set the phone face down on the nightstand and went back to my research on Alberta's Residential Tenancies Act. I knew exactly what was happening 15 kilometers away. By now, Ethan would be at a store somewhere, London Drugs probably, given his habit of buying electronics he didn't need. He'd have selected the latest gaming headset or VR system. The cashier would scan it. Ethan would swipe my credit card with that casual entitlement he'd perfected over 5 years. The machine would beep, declined. He'd try again, harder. A futile gesture. Determination cannot override banking protocols. I imagined the slow-motion collapse of his privileged reality. The realization would hit him slowly, then all at once. Lauren would have her own version, probably at Aritzia, her cart loaded with $140 leggings and $80 sports bras. Same scene, card reader refusing, face flushing, the awkward suggestion from the cashier to try again. They'd call each other first, then the bank, then me. My phone buzzed again, another call. Another voicemail notification. Around 1:30, I checked the voicemails. 4 from Ethan, 2 from Lauren. Ethan is first. Dad, hey, call me back. Something's wrong with the cards. His second, an hour later. Dad, this isn't funny. The cards aren't working. What's going on? His third, early afternoon. Where are you? Your note said a few days, but You need to call me right now. We have bills to pay. His fourth evening tone shifted. Look, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you can't just cut us off like this. We had an agreement. Call me back. Agreement? There was never an agreement. There was me being a fool, thinking that generosity would earn respect. Lauren left no words, just hung up after the beep both times. I could hear Ethan's voice in the background on the second attempt. Agitated. Angry. I deleted them all. Jennifer Coleman's office was downtown, 8th floor of a building near the Bow River. I arrived 15 minutes early, fed the parking meter with quarters, and took the elevator up. The waiting area held modern furniture and abstract art. A receptionist who looked college-age sat behind a curved desk. Mr. Harrison? I nodded. Miss Coleman will be right with you. 3 minutes later, a door opened and a woman emerged. Tall, gray streak, dark hair pulled back, wearing slacks and a blazer. Weakened professional. Mr. Harrison, Jennifer Coleman. Come on back. Her office was larger than I expected, with windows overlooking the river and a desk organized with the precision I appreciated. She gestured to a chair across from her and sat down, pulling a legal pad into position. Tell me the situation. Start wherever makes sense. I'd prepared for this. Facts, not emotions. Timeline, not grievances. My son and his girlfriend have been living in my house for 5 years. No written lease, no rent payments, no formal agreement of any kind. Yesterday was my 72nd birthday. There was an incident that made clear the arrangement needed to end immediately. This morning, I removed them as authorized users on my credit cards and bank accounts. Now, I need them out of the house legally. Coleman wrote in quick-kneed handwriting. They receive mail at this address. Yes? They use it as their permanent residence. Do you live there too? I did. I left this morning. I'm staying at a motel while this resolves. She looked up. So you abandoned the property? I left temporarily to avoid confrontation while establishing legal boundaries. Good answer. She made another note. Any written communication between you about them leaving? No. They don't know yet that I want them out permanently. They think I'm visiting friends for a few days. Coleman leaned back. All right. Under Alberta law, what you have is a license situation. No lease, no rent, no tenant protections under the RTA. You have the right to revoke their license to occupy whenever you choose. But she held up one finger. You need to do it properly. What does properly mean? Written notice delivered in a way we can prove they received it. For lenses, 21 days is standard, more than legally required, but it shows good faith if this ends up in court. Will it end up in court? She shrugged. Most people leave when they get official paperwork. Reality sets in, but we prepare for the worst case, which is trespass proceedings if they refuse. That could take another 4 to 6 weeks. How do I deliver the notice? I draft it, we send it registered mail, and I'll also arrange a process server to hand deliver a copy. Can't claim they never received it that way. I pulled out the folder. I'd brought bank statements, credit card records, the spreadsheet. I have documentation of financial support. I've provided $1,600 over 5 years plus $148,200 in unauthorized charges. Coleman glanced at the papers but didn't take them. Not relevant for the revocation itself. The house is yours. That's all that matters. But keep those records. If they damage anything on their way out, you might need proof of their financial situation for recovery purposes. They'll damage things, then document everything. Photos now, photos after they leave, repair estimates. Alberta law allows property owners to pursue damages. She turned to her computer. Let me draft this while you're here. We'll review it together. While she typed, I watched the river below through her window. Couples walking. Someone throwing a ball for a dog. Normal life continuing, while I sat in a lawyer's office preparing to evict my own son. Question, I said. Do they have any legal grounds to fight this? Not really. You're not a landlord. You're allowing someone to occupy your property out of generosity. You can revoke that permission. The only issue is if they claim some kind of implied agreement, like they've been doing work on the house in lieu of rent. Have they? No. Then you're clear. This is straightforward. Mr. Harrison doesn't mean it'll be easy emotionally, but legally it's solid. She printed the document and handed it across. I read it carefully, my financial advisor's eye catching every detail. Notice to vacate premises, their names listed formally. Ethan James Harrison, Lauren Ann Wong. The address, my address, the deadline, 21 days from date of delivery. This works, I said. My fee is $950. That covers drafting, registered mail, process server, and one follow-up consultation if needed. If we have to file actual trespass proceedings, that's additional. I pulled out my checkbook, the one they'd never had access to. $950, less than Ethan spent on his last electronics binge. When will they receive this? Registered mail goes out Monday morning. Process server will attempt delivery Tuesday. By Wednesday latest, they'll have it in hand. Wednesday, 4 days from now. Coleman walked me to the door, shook my hand. One more thing, Mr. Harrison. Do they have anywhere else to go? I thought about Ethan's mother's sister in Alberta. Thought about Lauren's parents who'd made it clear years ago they wouldn't support her lifestyle. That's not my concern anymore, I said. She nodded. Call me if anything changes. If they threaten you, damage property, anything that needs legal attention. Back in my car, I sat for a moment before starting the engine. My phone showed 3 missed calls, all from the house landline. The drive back to the motel took 30 minutes. Sunday afternoon traffic. I stopped at a Quiznos, ordered a sandwich I ate in the parking lot while reviewing the copy of the notice Coleman had given me. 21 days. 21 days of silent, emotional turmoil for them. 21 days of hard-won peace and preparation for me. The clock had started, and this time, I wouldn't stop it. That's how long they had to pack their lives and leave my house. That evening, another voicemail arrived. Ethan again, his voice different now. Smaller, worried. Dad, please, we need to talk. I don't understand what's happening. Just tell me what you want. We'll fix it. Whatever it is, we'll fix it. Please call me back. No apology. Just promises. Just negotiations. He hadn't learned anything. The plea wasn't regret. It was a desperate attempt to regain control of the flow of money. It was still the agreement. He thought he could manage. Still thinking this was something they could manage, manipulate, survive with the right combination of words. I played it once, then deleted it. 4 days at the motel was enough. Enough time to meet with Coleman twice. Enough time to let the registered mail go out. Enough time to allow Ethan and Lauren to marinate in their panic. On Tuesday afternoon, I packed my suitcase, checked out of the budget truck rental inn, and drove the 15-kilometer back to Edmonton. My house appeared unchanged from the street. Same gray siding, same overgrown shrubs Ethan kept promising to trim, but never did. I pulled into the driveway at 3:00 p.m., turned off the engine, and sat for a moment. The leather document folder rested on the passenger seat. Inside it, 2 copies of the notice to vacate. I left my suitcase in the trunk. I'd retrieve it later after. The key turned smoothly in the front door lock. I stepped into the foyer and heard voices from the living room, television noise, then sudden silence. Footsteps. Ethan appeared first, his face shifting through surprise to something approximating relief. Dad, you're back. We were worried sick about you. I walked past him without slowing, heading for the dining room. Behind me, Lauren's voice. Edward, we're so glad you're home. We really need to talk. She'd never called me Edward before, always Mr. Harrison with that false sweetness. The dining room table still held the birthday centerpiece from Saturday, wilted flowers in a crystal vase Margaret had cherished. I set the folder down on the polished wood Margaret had cleaned every Sunday, and opened it with the same precision I'd used opening audit reports for 4 decades. 2 documents, clean edges, official letterhead. I slid one copy across the table toward where Lauren now stood. Placed the second in front of Ethan as he entered behind her. "You have 21 days to find other housing," I said. Ethan grabbed his copy, eyes scanning. His expression evaporated. "What the? You can't do this. I've lived here my whole life. This is my home." I didn't respond. He'd lived here as my dependent child, then stayed as my unwelcome guest. Neither gave him ownership. Lauren's paper trembled in her hands. She looked at the header, the formal language, and her face crumpled. The tears came immediately, loud, theatrical. "You're throwing us onto the street. Where are we supposed to go? What kind of person are you? The kind who gave you 5 years of free housing and got a bowl of cat food in return on his 72nd birthday." Ethan slammed his palm on the table. "That was a joke," Lauren explained. "It was just a joke that went too far. Nobody apologized. And it wasn't a joke. But Lauren looked up, mascara already running. "We're sorry now. We'll make it right. We'll start paying rent. Whatever you want. You have 3 weeks. The notice is legal. The timeline is final. I suggest you start looking for apartments." I turned toward the stairs. Behind me, Ethan's voice rose. "You went to a lawyer? You actually hired a lawyer against your own family?" I didn't answer. 13 steps to the 2nd floor. I'd climbed them carrying Ethan as a baby, carrying groceries, carrying Margaret's prescriptions during her cancer treatment, carrying the weight of pretending everything was fine. Now I climbed them free of that weight. "This is insane," Ethan shouted from below. "We have rights. You can't just read the document," I said without turning. "Everything you need to know is there." Lauren's voice cracked. "Please just listen for 1 minute. Please." I reached my bedroom door, entered, closed it behind me. The lock turned with a solid click. Through the door, their voices continued. Ethan's rage, Lauren's theatrical grief. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The calendar on my screen showed October 26th, circled in red, 21 days from delivery of the notice. My phone buzzed, text from Ethan. "We need to talk about this like adults." I set the phone face down and didn't respond. Below, something heavy hit the floor. Ethan's anger finding an outlet. I made a note on my laptop. Tuesday, 3:27 p.m. Loud crash from downstairs. Assess damage after they leave. The documentation had begun. That evening crawled by. I remained in my room, door locked, listening to the house settle into its new reality. Ethan and Lauren's voices drifted up through the vents. Urgent whispers, phone calls. Lauren hitting that particular pitch she used when recruiting sympathy. By Wednesday morning, my phone showed 14 missed calls from numbers I recognized. Lauren's sister in Vancouver, Ethan's former boss, 2 neighbors, several people I hadn't spoken to in years. The campaign had begun. Amanda's sister, Amanda, called at 9 a.m. I answered this time. Edward, careful concern in her voice. Lauren called me. She's absolutely devastated. She says, "You're evicting them. What happened?" Ethan and Lauren have lived here free for 5 years. On Saturday, my 72nd birthday, they served me cat food in front of 18 guests and called me a freeloader. I've given them legal notice. 21 days to find other housing. Silence. Then she didn't mention anything about your birthday. I imagine she didn't. Edward, I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. Family should be able to work through this. Isn't a misunderstanding. It's a boundary. One I should have said years ago. She hung up shortly after, awkwardness thick in her goodbye. By Thursday morning, I ventured downstairs for coffee. Ethan was in the kitchen, leaning against the counter as I measured grounds into the filter. 2 scoops, same routine for 40 years. "We need to talk," he said. I pressed the start button on the coffee maker. I'm listening. I talked to a lawyer. She said oral agreements are legally binding in Alberta. We had an understanding that we could live here permanently. We'll claim that. I turned to face him. Then hire that lawyer and file your claim. My attorney is prepared for that possibility. You don't have. I have 5 years of bank statements showing I funded your entire lifestyle while you contributed nothing. I'm a financial advisor, Ethan. I document everything. The spreadsheet shows $16,500 in support, plus $148,200 in unauthorized credit card charges you and Lauren made without permission. Your lawyer will see that in discovery. His confidence fractured. He'd been bluffing. This is ridiculous, he muttered. But he left the kitchen without another word. That afternoon, a soft knock came at my bedroom door, different from Ethan's aggressive pounding. This was Lauren's knock. Edward, can I please come in? I unlocked the door, opened it halfway, didn't step back to allow entry. She stood in the hallway, eyes red. Real tears this time, or at least more convincing ones. Can we please just talk? Really talk? There's nothing to discuss. The notice stands. But Edward, she pressed her palms together. I made a mistake. I was trying to be funny, to lighten the mood. I didn't think you'd take it so seriously. Can't you forgive me? I'm begging you. You filmed it, Lauren. You pulled out your phone and recorded giving me cat food for my birthday. You told 18 people I was freeloading in my own home. That wasn't trying to be funny. That was cruelty for entertainment. And the hardest truth, the mask of her false sorrow slipped. In that brief moment, I saw the raw contempt, the resentment she held for the man funding her entire existence. Her face hardened. The mask slipped for just a second. So that's what this is about. Control. You're mad because we're living our lives instead of asking your permission for everything. No. I'm done because you humiliated me publicly. And you're not even sorry. You're sorry you got caught. Sorry you're facing consequences. Not sorry for what you did. I closed the door, heard her footsteps retreat down the hallway. Faster this time, angrier. By Friday, I heard them arguing through the walls. Ethan's voice. This isn't working. All your crying isn't changing anything. Lauren's response, too quiet to hear. Ethan again. Then we need to find another angle. I made a note. Friday evening. Overheard discussion of another angle. Monitor closely. Saturday morning. I woke to the sound of cabinet doors opening and closing downstairs. Not violently, but repeatedly searching for something. I pulled up the security camera app on my phone. Yes, I'd installed cameras, 2 of them, Wednesday afternoon, while they were out looking at apartments. One in the living room bookcase, one on top of the refrigerator, both motion activated, recording to cloud storage. Legal in Alberta with proper notification, which I'd provided via written notice Thursday morning. The kitchen camera showed Lauren opening every cabinet, looking behind dishes, moving boxes, searching for what? My financial documents, the property deed. Both were locked in my bedroom filing cabinet, and I'd changed that lock too. After 10 minutes, she gave up and left. I saved the footage. Search attempt. Nov 23, MP4. Sunday afternoon, I called a locksmith. Professional service, not someone Ethan knew. He arrived within 2 hours. Changed every lock in the house. Front door, back door, garage, my bedroom. New tenants moving in? He asked while working. Old ones moving out? He nodded, understanding immediately. Fresh start then. Exactly that. By 4:00 p.m., I had new keys. The old ones were worthless metal now. That evening, Ethan and Lauren tried their keys and couldn't get in. I heard them on the porch jiggling the handle, swearing. I opened the door. Your keys don't work because I changed the locks. I said, you can come in, but you're not getting new keys. The house is being secured. Ethan's face went red. You can't lock us out of our own home. Read your notice again. This isn't your home. It's mine. You're occupying it temporarily under revocation of license. The locks ensure my property is protected. This is illegal. Check with your lawyer. Property owners can change locks even with occupants present as long as occupants still have access during reasonable hours. The door is open. You can come in. You just can't lock me out of my own house anymore. I closed the door in his face. 10 days left. Monday morning, I discovered something that changed everything. I was reviewing my credit card statements, something I did every month religiously, when I noticed a charge from September I didn't recognize. TransUnion credit report, $24. Zoso. I didn't order a credit report in September. I hadn't checked my credit in over a year. My stomach tightened. I logged into my TransUnion account. The report showed a hard inquiry from Scotiabank dated September 15th, an application for a new credit card. In my name, but I hadn't applied for any credit card. I called Scotiabank immediately. This is Edward Harrison. I see there was a credit card application in my name on September 15th. I didn't make that application. One moment here. Keys clicking. Yes, I see that application. It was for a dividend visa. The application was approved and the card was mailed too. Let me see your address on SARS Trail. I never received that card. According to our records, it was activated on September 20th and has a current balance of $9,200. The number hit me like a punch. I never activated that card. Someone else did. This is fraud. I'll transfer you to our fraud department immediately, sir. The fraud investigation took 3 hours, phone calls, affidavit, documentation. By 5 p.m., I had confirmation that someone had forged my signature on a credit card application. Activation was done online using my personal information. The card was being used for cash advances and online purchases. Ethan and Lauren were the only other people with access to my personal information. The card was mailed to my house, where they could intercept it. I called Jennifer Coleman. Edward, what's happened? Identity theft, credit card fraud, $9,200. I have proof. That's criminal, not just civil. Have you filed a police report? Doing that next? Good. Do that immediately. This strengthens your case significantly. They're not just occupants you want gone. They're criminals who victimized you in your own home. The police report took another 2 hours. A constable came to the house, took my statement, collected documentation. Ethan and Lauren stayed in their room, door closed, while the officer was there. As he was leaving, he said quietly, "Mr. Harrison, I've seen cases like this before. Elder financial abuse. It's more common than people think. You did the right thing getting legal help. Most people are too ashamed to report their own children. That word, elder abuse. I was 72 years old and my own son had committed elder abuse against me. That night I added to my spreadsheet original support, $16,500 original unauthorized charges, $114,200 plus fraudulent credit card, $19,200. Grand total $158,900. My son had stolen more than $158,900 from me over 5 years. I sent an email to Ethan and Lauren. Subject line, criminal fraud charges. Body text, you forged my signature on a credit card application and stole $9,200. I have filed a police report. The fraud investigation is ongoing. This amount will be added to any civil claim for restitution. You should consult a criminal defense attorney. You have 6 days remaining before eviction deadline. CC Jennifer Coleman. Send. 5 minutes later from downstairs. What the hell? He can't prove anything. Lauren's voice higher, panicked. You said it was safe. You said he never checks. Shut up. Just shut up. A door slam. I opened my laptop and began drafting an email to the 3 people who'd validated my decision so far. My former colleague, David Thompson, Jennifer Coleman, and Margaret's best friend, Margaret, who'd been checking in on me since the eviction notice went out. I wanted their advice on one final decision, whether to press criminal charges or accept restitution. 6 days, then they'd be gone. Then I'd decide whether prison time was warranted or if poverty would be punishment enough. The house felt different the next morning. Not tense anymore. Defeated. I woke to silence. No cabinet slamming, no angry voices, just quiet. I descended the stairs at 8 odd a.m. The kitchen was empty, coffee maker cold. Usually Lauren was up by 7, me using my coffee, my milk, my sugar. On the counter, I found a note. We're staying with Lauren's sister in Vancouver for a few days. We'll be back to move our things by the deadline. They'd run 6 days early. They'd run. I walked through the house slowly. Living room, their blankets still on the couch. Dining room, table still messy with their papers. Upstairs to their bedroom, clothes everywhere, bed unmade. They'd fled, but left their possessions, planning to come back right at the deadline, grab everything, and disappear. I pulled out my phone and texted Jennifer Coleman. They've temporarily left. House is empty. What should I do? Response came within minutes. Document everything. Photos of every room. Video walkthrough. Inventory all their possessions. Store it carefully. They still have legal right to retrieve their property within reasonable time. I spent the next 3 hours photographing and documenting every item, every room, every piece of furniture they'd brought, the Xbox Series X, the designer clothes, the yoga mats, the protein powder supplements, the cheap furniture from IKEA they'd crammed into Margaret's sewing room, all of it documented, dated, cataloged. That evening, David Thompson called. I'd emailed him about the fraud discovery. Edward, I've been thinking about what you told me. Back in '94, when that client tried to embezzle from the firm, you taught me something I never forgot. What's that? You said bad debt needs to be written off or it compounds. Same with bad people. Sometimes writing them off is the only way to stop the damage. You're writing off bad people, Edward. That takes strength most people don't have. After we hung up, Margaret called. Margaret's best friend, the woman who'd sat with us through chemo appointments and held my hand at the funeral. Edward, Margaret would be proud of you. That statement hit me harder than anything else. You think so? I know so. She always said Ethan needed consequences, that you were too soft on him after she died. You were trying to be both parents, and you let him get away with too much. She worried about what would happen when you couldn't support him anymore. You're finally teaching him the lesson she wanted him to learn years ago. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No sounds of footsteps, no voices through walls, no tension, just silence. Wednesday morning, Jennifer Coleman called. Edward, the 21 days are up in 3 days, Friday at 5 p.m. If they're not out with all possessions removed, we file for formal eviction and police enforcement. Are you ready for that? I'm ready. One more thing. I recommend you be there when they move out. Document everything. Take photos of the house after they're gone. Any damage, any missing items. We need proof. Thursday morning, I received a text from Ethan. We'll be there tomorrow to get our things, have our damage deposit ready. I didn't respond to that. They never paid a damage deposit. They never paid anything. Friday morning dawned cold and clear. October 29th, the deadline. I woke at 6:00 a.m., made coffee, and waited. Jaila Joan Vunjuk Vietlai Theo Quitak Thay Ding Hiem Gat, Chithe Joy Kach Tu Kum Tu Ko Trong Bang Qui Joy Banjungi. At 9 a.m., a budget truck rental pulled into my driveway. Ethan driving, Lauren in the passenger seat. Her sister Amanda and another person I didn't recognize climbed out of a following car. I opened the door before they could knock. You have until 5 p.m. to remove all your possessions, I said. I'll be here the entire time documenting. Don't damage anything. Ethan pushed past me without a word. Lauren wouldn't meet my eyes. For the next 6 hours, I watched them carry boxes, furniture, bags of clothes, the Xbox Series X still in its box, the yoga mats, the designer clothes, the cheap IKEA furniture. I photographed everything, time-stamped, dated. At 2:30 p.m., Ethan approached me in the kitchen. His face was different, not angry, broken. Dad, please, can we talk? The deadline is 5 now p.m. I know, but I'm sorry. Okay, I'm really sorry. The cat food thing was Lauren's idea, but I went along with it, and that was wrong. And the credit card. I was desperate. The startup wasn't working. I had bills. I'm sorry. I looked at him, really looked at him, this man who looked like Margaret, who had her eyes, her nose, her smile when he chose to use it. Ethan, do you know what you're apologizing for? The cat food, the credit card, all of it. No, you're apologizing because you're facing consequences. You're apologizing because you're being evicted. If I had been weak, if I had simply eaten the cat food and gone back to my room, if that cruelty had worked, you would still be here. If that cat food worked, if I just taken it and stayed quiet, you'd still be here, still charging to my cards, still calling this your house, still treating me like garbage. That's not on Saturday when I was holding that cat bowl. You were smiling. You were proud. You thought you'd finally put me in my place. And now that it's cost you everything, suddenly you're sorry. He had no response to that. The deadline is 5 p.m., I repeated. I suggest you keep loading. He walked away. At 4:45 p.m., the truck was full. Ethan and Lauren stood in the driveway, Amanda and her friend already in their car. Lauren approached. Last-ditch effort. Edward, please reconsider. We have nowhere to go. Amanda's place is temporary. We'll be homeless. You have jobs? Not yet. But then I suggest you find them fast. Adults support themselves. You're both in your 30s. It's time. Ethan's voice from behind her. You're really going to do this? You're going to die alone, old man. No one at your funeral. No one to take care of you when you need help. Is that what you want? I smiled. For the first time in days, I smiled. Ethan, I'd rather die alone with my dignity than live surrounded by parasites who steal from me. The choice was easy. At 4:58 p.m., the budget truck rental pulled out of my driveway. Lauren's sister's car followed. I watched them disappear down the street. Then I walked back into my house. My house empty, except for my belongings. Silent, except for the furnace humming. I locked the door. The new lock, the one they'd never have keys to. Then I walked through every room. Living room clean, dining room, Margaret's table visible again, kitchen organized, upstairs, their bedroom empty, door open. I'd reclaimed my home. That evening, I sat on my front porch despite the cold, cup of tea cooling in my hands. Margaret appeared on the sidewalk, walking her small terrier. She veered up my walkway. Edward, I saw them leave this morning. Are you okay? I'm better than I've been in 5 years. Margaret. She smiled, patted my shoulder. Margaret would be so proud of you. After she left, I sat until stars appeared. The next morning, I called Jennifer Coleman with my final question. Jennifer, the criminal fraud. Do I press charges or accept restitution? That's your decision, Edward. But I'll tell you what I tell all my clients. Criminal charges mean jail time if convicted. Restitution means you might actually see some money back. Not all of it, but some. Prison doesn't pay you. Poor kids working minimum wage jobs to survive do eventually. I thought about that for 3 days. On Tuesday, I sent Ethan an email through Jennifer Coleman's office. You have 3 options. Option 1, I press criminal charges for identity theft and fraud. You risk up to 10 years in prison under Criminal Code Section 403. Option 2, you sign a restitution agreement for $158,900 payable at $800 per month for the next 13 years. Any missed payment triggers option 1. Option 3, you declare bankruptcy and I lose everything, but you live with a bankruptcy on your record for 7 years and no credit access. You have 7 days to choose and respond through your attorney, Edward Harrison. 6 days later, Jennifer Coleman called. Edward, They've agreed to option 2, $800 a month. We'll have a payment plan formalized by end of week. If this story of setting boundaries can help someone you know, please share this video with them. They might need to hear this today. They can afford $800 a month. Ethan got a job at a call center. Lauren's working retail. Between them, they're pulling in about $4,200 monthly. $800 is doable if they live cheaply. I did the math. $800 per month for 13 years. They'd be paying me until Ethan was 48 years old. 13 years of consequences for 5 years of exploitation. Finalize it, I said. That night, I opened my laptop and began writing. Not a spreadsheet this time, a document. Lessons learned, protecting yourself from family financial abuse. I wrote for 3 hours. Everything I'd learned, everything I wished I'd done differently. Practical advice for other seniors who might be in my situation. The key points. Never give adult children access to your bank accounts for emergencies. Never add anyone as authorized user on credit cards without spending limits. Document everything always in real time. Set boundaries immediately when disrespect begins. Remember, kindness is not weakness, but enabling exploitation is betrayal of yourself. Create an irrevocable trust if you have significant assets. Remove family members from financial power of attorney if they prove untrustworthy. Legal action isn't revenge, it's protection. You're not responsible for adult children's success. They are. Peace is worth more than keeping toxic family around. I printed it, made 50 copies, and dropped them off at the Edmonton Senior Center the next morning. By Friday, I'd received 4 phone calls from other seniors who'd read it. All of them dealing with similar situations. All of them thinking they were alone. They weren't alone. I wasn't alone. The following week, I did something I hadn't done in 5 years. I invited people over. David Thompson and his wife, Margaret and her partner, Jennifer Coleman, Linda Wong from down the street. We sat in my dining room at Margaret's table, eating food I'd cooked without resentment, drinking wine I'd bought without checking the price, talking about life without walking on eggshells. David raised his glass to Edward to standing up to knowing your worth. We clinked glasses. That night, alone in my house, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. Not victory, not triumph, not revenge, just simple, honest, earned peace. The first payment arrived December 15th. When that $800 e-transfer landed in Edward's account, it wasn't just a transaction. It was a profound therapeutic breakthrough. It was the material proof that his internal shift, the decision to choose dignity over guilt, had forced an external reality change. The money itself, meticulously saved in a separate account, ceased to be debt repayment and became instead a monument to self-worth. Edward's journey is a mirror for so many who are quietly enduring in the name of family. He learned the hardest truth. Kindness is not weakness, but enabling exploitation is betrayal of yourself. The silence in his house was not emptiness. It was peace, earned by the courageous act of setting an absolute boundary. His final choice, demanding restitution but offering a path to self-sufficiency, was the ultimate act of loving accountability. This isn't just Edward's story. It's a vital case study in self-reclamation. If you find yourself minimizing consistent disrespect, remember Edward and the cold comfort of that metal bowl. The cost of toxic family peace will always exceed the temporary pain of enforcing your boundaries. If this resonates, take a moment now to identify one boundary you need to set for your own well-being. What choice are you making today to be worthy of your own respect? The greatest lesson you can teach someone is the consequence of their own actions. The greatest gift you can give yourself is the freedom of a life truly reclaimed.